multifamily. Emily is focused primarily on acquisition strategy, broker relationships, underwriting, keeping up with the market, things of that nature. When we're going through an acquisition, which takes 60 plus days, she's pretty much spearheading a lot of the activity. My focus is on the operations side. So for the assets that we have under management,
Jacqueline and Melvin Landry, and we welcome you to our podcast, Get Diversified. Throughout these series, we'll cover all the topics and questions you have about investing in apartment buildings, storage facilities, and mobile home parks. Being knowledgeable in these areas will help you feel more comfortable about investing. Apartment investing equals building wealth. Building wealth equals financial freedom. Achieving financial freedom allows you to spend your time with building memories with your loved ones. Let's face it, time is the one element in life that is limited, and you don't.
Good morning, we're live and welcome to Get Diversified. Melvin and Jackie here, and we have some outstanding guests here that we can't wait to speak to today. As we continue our Power Couple series, one of the things we like to do is we like to interview couples who are moving and shaking in the multifamily real estate space, making moves and making an impact for those themselves as well as those around them. So we want to welcome to the show Adam Roberts and Emily Cortright. Welcome, folks. How we doing?
hey,
Thank
good.
you so much. We're so excited to be here today.
Good. Well, hey, we are happy to have you as part of our Power Couple series. You are indeed a power couple in this space and really making an impact for those in our ecosystem, in our community, and it's great to hear. So we're happy to have you both here.
Honored to be here. Thank you.
So with that, we want to get to know, have our viewers get to know you a little bit. We know a little bit about you all, being in the same mastermind together. But if you could go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us how each of you got started in real estate.
Absolutely. So my name's Emily Cortright. This is my husband, Adam Roberts. And I was really motivated to do something different when I watched my dad not be able to retire after 30 years in the same job. And he had invested his whole life in stocks and mutual funds. And this was 2009. And he was handcuffed to his job and had to work essentially 5 more years to wait for the stocks in the market to rebound before he could retire. So I was thinking to myself at that time, like, that's not going to be me. I'm going to do something different. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to do something different. Adam and I were living in Southern California on a work rotation, and he invites me to an investing class. And I show up, and it's a real estate investing class. And I was like, what are we doing here? Like, we're not going to invest in real estate. And he's like, no, just come in, just listen. And I'm so glad I stayed because that 2-hour class literally changed our lives. We looked at each other and we said, like, the math doesn't lie. The math behind real estate investing is there. It's a way to provide financial security, financial freedom in the future. And from that point, we were set on real estate investing. And we just happened to get the opportunity. We were working for GE Aviation at the time. They sold off the business we were in. And part of that divestiture, we ended up moving from California to Texas, and I quit my job to start our real estate investing business.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So would you say, Emily, that light bulb went off after the real estate seminar, even though you had some doubts, right? Initially.
It did. Like, just looking at the numbers and like, oh my gosh, people make money flipping houses. People make money with rental properties. I had never heard of terms like passive income before. I had never heard of cash flow from rentals. Like, all of that was brand new to us. And when we moved to Texas, I read 2 books, a book on flipping and a book on rentals. And it literally launched us into our investing career.
Okay.
And what year was that, Emily?
That was 2013. So 10 years ago.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. So you talk about, the books that you read, right? Flipping, right? Which in many cases would involve single family, right? So Did your journey start initially single family, or did you kind of jump into multifamily all at once, or how'd that balance kick off for you all?
It did.
We started in single family primarily. Our first ever real estate investment was a 4-unit apartment building. So we technically, I guess we did start in multifamily, but a lot of our activity in the first 5 or 6 years was single family homes. And I was holding down the W-2 for a couple years there while we got it started. But my primary role was talking to sellers and trying to get deals done. And Emily got really good at executing the rehabs and selling the properties. So we early on we had a pretty good we had roles and responsibilities.
Yeah, we did single family exclusively for 5 years, and it was not bringing in enough income to allow Adam to quit his job and join me full time. And so we were looking for something more sophisticated, and we went to another 2-day class on multifamily. And again, we had that light bulb moment and turned to each other and said, this is where we need to take our business. It's the next level of sophistication for us. It would get me out of that landlord role. I was self-managing all of our rentals, and we dove right into multifamily. And so that was a little over 5 years ago. And that allowed Adam to quit his job after 1 year in multifamily business. So we've been working together since 2018.
Wow. Okay. Wow. So that second light bulb went off for you guys 5 years later in 2018. Wow. Good. It's fantastic to hear. So let's talk about once that light bulb went off, right? Ideally, right? In multifamily, right? There's different roles you have to play. I know you mentioned, Emily, that, you were doing a lot, right? In terms of the single family ordeal. And I can relate because that was a similar facet, when I was dealing with single family years ago as well. So, jump to multifamily. So what do you see you guys' roles are primarily in the multifamily ecosystem? And which do you prefer?
Yeah, so today in multifamily, Emily is focused primarily on acquisition strategy, broker relationships, underwriting, keeping up with the market, things of that nature. When we're going through an acquisition, which takes 60 plus days, she's pretty much spearheading a lot of the activity. My focus is on the operations side. So for the assets that we have under management, we'll do a handoff during the acquisition period, but once we close a deal, I'm pretty much in control. And at the end of the day, ensuring that the asset meets performance expectations for the investors.
But that's not how we did it from the beginning. At the beginning, for the first 2 years, we literally overlapped and both did all of the roles. So we would split up. One deal would come out to underwrite and analyze. Adam would take it. The next deal would come out. I would take it. We were sharing all the asset management. And it was great to learn both sides of the business, but it wasn't sustainable because we were clashing a lot. We were both trying to do the same thing. Like a task would come out, who's going to do it? And so we benchmarked other successful couples in the multifamily industry. And what we learned very quickly was that we needed to find distinct roles and responsibilities for each of us. And then each of us would need to stay in those respective swim lanes. And so we literally sat down. It was in January. And we said, okay, this year's going to be different. What are your tasks going to be? And what are your tasks going to be? And we discussed that and said, okay, from now going forward, we're going to have these distinct roles and responsibilities. And that helped a lot with less clashing, better working relationship during the day and more ownership for an entire piece of the pie.
Yep. And I think that's good advice. And so that's something that we're working on now as a couple, is really, defining those roles. And I think as we've been getting, better at that, I'm more of the underwriter, the one that's underwriting deals to see if it makes sense. Melvin is definitely very good on the syndication side, getting to know people, getting to know brokers. And then I kind of see myself also in the asset management role. It kind of just bleeds into my experience as a project manager in getting things done and executing a plan. Right, as long as it's on a project plan, I can get it done usually on time and on budget. So that's great. That's great to know. I think the last few months we've been clashing a little bit on what each other does. So it's good to know that you guys were there, been there and done that, and now are in a better place. That's awesome. So what is the biggest advice that you can give? So this question's for Emily, to wives that are working together with their husbands in this space.
So this was an interesting one because we experienced this where Adam and I have very different management styles. I'm kind of the nice manager. I don't like to yell at people, and Adam is more of that kind of stern, high expectations for his direct reports coming from our corporate world. And so I think the biggest advice that I have is that we have to respect each other's management styles. And if he may come to me and ask me my opinion on, or, vent to me about a situation. And I said, well, you could do this, you could do that. But ultimately I have to respect that if it's in his swim lane, it is his decision on how to manage it. And I can't be upset because he didn't take my suggestion or he didn't do it the way that I thought it should have been done, because it's his role and it's his responsibility. And I think that there has to be a lot of respect for, we each have to let each other manage our own tasks, our own challenges. We each have to give the opportunity to learn, because there's really no right and wrong way. Like, the end result will still probably be the same. It's just a matter of how you get there. And so that's what I have learned throughout this process.
Got it. So respect and stay in your swim lane.
On the flip side, for you, Adam, hey, what's the biggest advice you can give to myself, right, working with my wife, right, in multifamily? What, we had to kind of ask you that question. How would you respond accordingly?
Yeah, so for me, I kind of learned this as we started our business and as it started to grow. Regardless of whether it's in real estate or in my prior career, I was always a go-getter. I always wanted a lot of control. When I worked a corporate job, I was always given a lot of control, almost too much, right? And so I was used to that. And so working with your spouse, it's tough because you really blur the lines of like we've talked about before, who does what and who makes what decisions. And it took me a while, but I think one of the biggest things I've learned is Emily, and I think this goes for, it's husband versus wife, but Emily is a great business decision maker, right? And probably a lot better than I am. And so when I look back at like big decisions we've made, consequential times in our business when, hey, we've got to pivot or we've got to make a decision and this is important and it has, lasting effects. She's made those decisions and they've been the right decision. And if we would have gone my way, or if I would have had the decision and we've done something different, we may be in a different spot, right? So I've learned over time that, the spouse, the wife has a voice. It's a powerful one. It's based on things that maybe I'm not thinking about, right? Whether it's data or intangible stuff. And you really need to listen and consider those decisions and those ideas, because they could have very positive effects on the business.
Appreciate that insight. And that's one thing that kind of resonated, right? Hey, she does have a voice, right? And it's good to collaborate. And, sometimes, hey, we have to just listen, right? Even though,
yes.
Listening is the best remedy for success from a collaboration standpoint. So as with everything, right? With life, it's continuous improvement, right? So Thanks for sharing that answer. I appreciate that.
I got that question for you, honey. How would you answer that?
I would say over the years, we've just hit 10 years, right? And it's about maintaining that balance for myself, and also, allowing her to have her voice, right? There's going to be clashes, but for me, and particularly in our ecosystem, I like to try to avoid conflict, right? I like to, she has a voice, and just like to maintain that balance, because I'm I'm a procurement guy, right? So I want a win-win for, when I'm working with vendors or when I'm working, in my own household. I want balance and I want win-win. I just want to be happy so we can proceed on for the greater good of our business, our relationship, and our future. So.
And flowers are a good point.
Yep.
Foot massages,
yes.
those kind of things.
That's right.
You guys didn't mention that.
Yeah.
You're right.
Awesome. And if you didn't have that on your list, Adam, write that down.
Mental note.
All good.
Awesome. So, one of the things I think Melvin and I struggle with, and it's really brought up by our 8-year-old son, is Mommy and Daddy, can you please stop talking about real estate? Right? So how do you all separate personal from business, right? Because I know that this is our lives. This is what we do. We are passionate about it. But what are some of the things that you do to kind of have that separation where you let things go and you turn it off?
So we're in a little bit different state. Our child's only 2, so she can't tell us stop talking about that yet. I'm sure she will say that one day. But Adam and I, we share an office. We sit next to each other. Unless one of us has a meeting offsite, we're with each other almost 24/7. And so one thing that we do is we both have dedicated me time separate in the mornings. And this is actually before the baby wakes up. So it's usually from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. I'll go to the gym, I'll shower, breakfast. That's my me time. He'll do his morning routine, miracle morning. And it kind of allows you to set the right mindset for the day. And before it's even family time, and then at 7, it's family time until 9 when she goes to daycare. So I really cherish the me time. And not everybody's an early riser, but for us, that's just the best time to fit it in. And then I would also say when we do go on vacations, that's where, unfortunately, we do still talk a little bit of work because we call it a work trip because it's like an annual retreat or a biannual retreat. And what we find is that when we're away from the office, we can think more clearly about the future. And it's not always just about the business, but it's about our family's future. And that conversation is so exciting to have. Just like you mentioned, it's exciting to talk about our future wealth and the future legacy we're going to leave. And it kind of stems, it's kind of business talk, but it's more about the means to an end. The business is a means to an end. And what does that end look like? And you can, fantasize and say, well, this is what our life's going to be like in 10 years and in 20 years, and kind of divert the conversation into more of a holistic visualization to the family future. Yeah,
I'd say we've done a really nice job of turning real estate into a lifestyle business. Multifamily is really good for that because it's compared to, say, single family, for instance. Multifamily is more business ownership, business operations. You have sophisticated management companies, etc. And so we take full advantage of that. If we need to duck out for a long weekend, we have the ability, and we've prioritized the ability that we could do that today if we wanted to. And I'd just say, hey, listen, these 6 things that I thought I was going to get done, I'm going to hand it to my assistant. She's going to do it, and I'm going to go with the family somewhere. So we've always hired people before we were financially ready to, right? We've always made sure that that we always prioritized our own lives and schedules ahead of everything else. So I think we've done a nice job of that.
Awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So when we were in Hawaii, we were kind of talking about for spring break. Yeah. So you guys haven't experienced that yet, but you'll be up taking spring breaks once your little one's in school. Yeah. So yeah, we were in Hawaii, and we talked a little bit about that. We had some business meetings business calls that we had to take, but for the most part, I tried to turn it off. My husband, not so much, but I think
Working on it.
He's getting a little bit better at that.
Working on it.
And you know, as we mentioned, so he's not just doing this full time. He has other jobs that he's working as well.
Yeah.
So a little harder for him to turn everything off. But good advice with the me time. So I'm an early riser, and my husband is not. 11 o'clock is about the time that he would want to wake up every day if he could.
I could.
So that's just the way it is. But, you know, I probably need to set some guidelines for myself to just, I'm up anyways, get up and really just, you know, like you said, Emily, is set the mindset for the day, understand what I'm going to get accomplished for the day. And I'm guessing that that's going to just kind of help us together in business for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Good. So guys, let's talk about future state, right? What's I'm sure you know you guys are kind of going back and forth, right? You guys are in growth mode as we both are here. What's thinking about the future? What's exciting and coming up for you guys from a business perspective, growth perspective, multifamily?
I think for us, and this is a good segue from the last discussion, I think we're continually looking for ways to grow and improve lifestyle. So I know the past several months, we've been discussing how in 5 years or 10 years, we could just be completely passive investors and have a lifestyle that is supported by just investing activity. Not so much, nose to the grindstone, trying to be a deal maker necessarily, day in and day out. So that's something I think that is a huge priority for us and our family. And we're going to continue to try to build on that.
And we've both kind of fallen into or developed into coaching and teaching roles, which is so different from what we used to do, because we were engineers by trade and worked in manufacturing facilities. But now Adam's a coach for multifamily. I teach classes on investing to real estate agents. And I really see that those roles evolving. And, you know, I almost can't imagine, like, in what capacity. I don't know. I don't know where life's going to take us and where the different opportunities are going to take us. But I agree that, you know, in 10 years from now, we want our money 100% working for us, where we're living off the passive income and we are pursuing our next calling, whether it's speaking, whether it's coaching, teaching, and just living out that next chapter of our lives.
Fantastic. And that's actually the way that my husband and I think, you know, right now we want to get to know everything there is about multifamily. We want to have our hands in the pot. We want to know everything about, you know, asset management, acquisition, you name it. So we're kind of on the up and up. But I said to him the other day, I said, well, eventually once we know and learn this stuff, you know, to the 10th degree, and can consider ourselves, you know, experts and beyond experts in this space, I want to be just passive investors, because I'm going to know exactly what deals I want to invest in and what team I know, trust, and believe in with my money. And I think another important thing that, you know, Melvin and I were talking about is multifamily is really a long-term game, as you know, 3 to 5 years, your money's being held if you're a passive investor. And so we're looking at ways to diversify our money. And so I would, or our investments. So I would love to ask you, and this could be the final question, is how are you diversifying your investments?
So, I mean, you know, we take market selection pretty seriously, and to your point, who you invest with very seriously. So that's one method of diversification. We, you know, a lot of our sponsorship deals for multifamily are here in the state of Texas. We invest all over the place as limited partners. We've also started to do a lot of private lending. And so as the single family home space starts to heat up again, potentially in this economic cycle, we've started to make hard money loans and private loans to home flippers, as well as we're starting to buy mortgage notes for cash flow.
Yeah.
So that is relatively a fresh thing for us. We just started doing that recently, and so we're kind of in phase one. But again, you know, there's a lot to be said about the risk profile of diversifying your investments and bringing in different things that bring cash flow versus capital gains. And so we're totally tuned into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we kind of reflected at the end of 2022 and just looked at our balance sheet and said, we're pretty much 100% invested in multifamily. Like we really, we diversified across different markets and different deal sponsors and asset classes. But it's all in multifamily. And so I think what we realize is it's just going to be safer if there's a little bit of some percentage in, notes and some percentage in private lending and some, just a little bit of more diversification in that sense.
Yeah, true diversification at its best, right? You a little bit kind of moving around and shifting from that standpoint. So that's good to know. So you guys are really you're speaking it, you're living it, and you're taking action on it too, which is fantastic. So
yeah, one of the things we want to do this year is invest in a debt fund. Or some kind of fund where we're getting, more cash flow, as well as invest in our own market. Since we do live here in Pittsburgh, my husband knows the market very well. So that's one of the things on our radar is to kind of get under something in our own backyard, get to know the folks in our neighborhood, and build cash flow that way. So awesome.
Yeah. Nice question.
No, go for it.
Hey guys, so advice you can give to other couples like ourselves and other folks in the real estate multifamily area. You guys have see a fantastic growth trajectory, and you guys are moving and shakers in this space. What advice would you give us and others out there if you had to, collaboratively?
I would say something that we started doing from day one, very early on, is tracking all of our financials, both the household, the business. Of course, when you're getting started, for those who are getting started, the business, you've got a lot of household financials, not much business financials, and then that kind of changes over the years. But we just made it a habit every 30 days to track where we were, where the money was, how much we were spending, net worth, what investments we had, how they were performing, things of that nature. And that that monthly habit, it creates a lot of motivation. It obviously, it does the obvious. It tells you where you're at, right, financially, but it also creates a lot of motivation and allows you to plan your investments and your spending. And I think that was just a huge game changer for us in the first several years.
Yeah, it allowed us to make very intelligent decisions as our investing grew, because we knew where all of our money was and we could sit down and look at the financials. My advice would be, and we're living this right now, is don't be afraid to leverage out. And by that, I mean hiring an assistant or a part-time or full-time virtual assistant or an intern or a neighborhood kid, somebody that can help take the administrative tasks off of your plate. And we, in January of this year, we hired a virtual assistant. She's in the Philippines, and we both can give her tasks. So some weeks I give her more tasks, some weeks Adam gives her more tasks. Yeah, right. And that has really helped take the administrative burden off of both of us. And especially when you're building your database management, social media marketing, creating and building that brand, she is phenomenal at all of that. I teach probably 3 to 4 classes a month. She's building my PowerPoint presentations. Mm-hmm. And it's been a game changer to really allow us better work-life balance, so that we can, and more, non-business time for us together. So that really, and there are part-time options. Like you don't have to pay somebody 40 hours a week. You could just pay them for 3 to 4 hours a day. And for VAs, that could be as little as $6 to $8 an hour. So I think the opportunity for leveraging out administrative tasks today is much more commonplace and doable than it was 5 years ago when we got started.
That's awesome. Yeah, we just we made that decision to hire a VA. So they're doing a lot of stuff for us, just like those things that you're talking about, and allow us to focus on the more important stuff in multifamily. So I'm glad we're doing a lot of these things that Adam and Emily are talking about. So
Indeed.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we wanted to thank you both. Thank you so much again for having us on the podcast, or for being on the podcast with us and sharing your insights. And we'd love to talk more. I'm sure we'll be in touch, and we will see you at the mastermind event in Santa Monica.
You bet. We'll be there.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
We're 2-year-old.
Are we?
No.
No.
We tried that. It's too much of a distraction. That trip is focused for business.
Got it. And we'll both be there. We're leaving our 8-year-old at home.
Yeah.
So
good deal. Well, good. We'll look forward to seeing you guys, and thank you again. We're honored to be on the podcast. We think it's great to share knowledge, discuss these things. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
yeah, thank you. You all have a great day. Okay.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.